there are many people amongst us who are not human.
Tell me more.
I call them the inorganic ones because creation stories, they talk about other beings coming down who actually created human beings. In the Bible, it says he made us in his image. Who is he that made us in his image? Even in ancient Egypt, the pharaohs, they were selected by the priesthood. Legend has it that they were visited by extraterrestrials who actually, gave the priesthood some knowledge about how to create civilizations. And the priesthood would always rule over the lands, and they would choose the king or the queen. If they didn't do what the priesthood wanted, they would assassinate them. It's the same thing that happens today. Who you think is in power is not really in power. They're just the puppets, but there are people on this planet who know that we're not alone. We've never been. There are other entities who actually have always been here and who have actually helped create human beings.
Oh, Ralph, you don't know how many hours I've spent watching your videos.
I appreciate that.
Have all of your sayings memorized.
I appreciate that.
The cat down the road, infinite waters, diving deep, all of the things.
I so appreciate that. I'm truly grateful, and I'm just happy the message is reaching people.
You're like really one of the OGs, I feel like, that got very popular on YouTube, talking about spirituality and the universe and different things going on. I really feel like you've led the way there.
I'm so happy to have started just when, I call it the golden age of YouTube, just when people were free, no censorship. You could say whatever you want. You can be whoever you want. And it was just fun. It was a fun time to share at the beginning, the genesis of content creation, where it all began, where when I first started, it didn't really matter how many views you got, how many subscribers you got. People were just creatively expressing themselves. And I feel that's why it was so special. And, a lot of people aren't here anymore who I started out with, but I'm happy to be here because I always say the sun never stops shining.
You are so positive, for sure. For sure. That's probably because you're always in nature for the most part,
Definitely. I mean, what I realized is that nature was my life support, because I realized that, I make videos in the heart of nature, and you get so much energy just from the good ass prana, just from breathing in clean air. And you get inspired, because I always say, whenever you're sharing videos with the world, you have to inspire yourself. Otherwise, it's no fun.
I'm curious about that. One, I'm curious what you think the difference, like the golden age of YouTube versus where it is now. And then, a little bit about how that content's changed and what's been calling you lately.
Definitely. In the early days of YouTube, it was so fun because really and truly, there was no censorship. You could say whatever you want. You really had so much freedom. And that's the word, freedom, where everyone was authentic. Everyone was different from everyone else. No one actually knew what worked. So you had nothing to lose, and you had so many different personalities. It was just a great time to, relax. I feel the internet was a lot slower. The pace of the internet was a lot slower. You could make a video once a week and people would still watch it. Now that's almost impossible, because what's happened, especially after the pandemic, you had a lot of news channels coming on YouTube. You had like Fox News, CNN, everyone came on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, and they do live streaming too. Yeah.
Live streaming, it became more saturated. A lot of the content creators, people like Jenna Marbles, they stopped making videos, so a lot of the people who first came on YouTube, who were really the architects of YouTube, who made YouTube what it was, these were the creators. A lot of them, they couldn't keep up with the pace that YouTube wanted. YouTube doesn't really care about the creator, unfortunately. It cares about people watching. What YouTube realizes that if people would live stream, more people would stay on the app. So people started to live stream. But the thing about live streaming, I do live streaming, but the thing about live streaming is that it puts you right at the top of the search. So people who upload videos, who take like a week to make a video, it doesn't matter how long you take creating a video, YouTube doesn't care about that. It just wants content. So a lot of people were rushing their content, producing very quickly. So that's the big difference. Like when I first started making videos, sometimes I would spend a whole day on a video. It was so fun. But now I realize that the internet is moving fast, where people don't care how long it took you to make a video. They just
Mm.
want content, you know? So
Mm.
I had to learn how to simplify everything even more.
What gets lost in that? Because sometimes I think there's also the other side of like, you don't think so much if you have to just keep producing, but on the other side of it, it might be nonsense content just to make content, right? Or the quality is down, but that doesn't always seem to be the case for what YouTube wants either. Like handheld videos can do just fine, it depends on what it's got in
Definitely.
it.
Definitely. I mean, I always say it depends on your style of creation. For me, I was doing consistent videos when it wasn't even a thing. I was making videos every single day, and people said, "Gosh, Ralph, why are you doing that?" But for me, I always love to just keep the ball rolling, you know. So it actually worked out for me because it actually benefits you if you're creating consistently. Um, but I realized that a lot of people couldn't keep up with that. A lot of great creators can't make a video every day because it just takes too much time. So a lot of people stopped making videos because they couldn't keep up with the competition. And the stress of creating content is not easy because it requires a lot of sacrifice. Even what you're doing requires sacrifice. You could be on the beach right now, you could be traveling, whatever you're doing, but you have a lot of focus and discipline, and you're really into what you're doing. But not everyone is like that. A lot of people, they give up when it gets too hard, and it is tough. Creating content for the world can really put you through a lot of emotional stress if you're not careful.
Yeah. Well, I get the chance to talk to Ralph Smart, so how am
Right.
I not going to make
Yes.
time for this? You don't do very many interviews. I mean, I saw like I was sort of in my research, I was going to see like through YouTube to see if you've done interviews with other people, and the only thing I could really find, and I'm sure they're out there, but I saw you with my friend Teal a couple times. And I love
Yes.
Teal. But that was quite a few years ago. So I don't feel like you do very many interviews. Is this true?
Right. That's true. That's true. I'm like the Weekend, who is like an artist who doesn't do interviews. For me, it's
So
like
I'm lucky, lucky, lucky.
you're lucky. But for me, I always welcome people like yourself who want to talk, and I'm for that. But I'm not someone who is, because I already say a lot, on my videos. So it's a case where, um, the time will come for that. But I'm happy to always talk to people who are really also doing great work themselves.
Is there things that you wish that you could talk about either with other people, areas that you're fascinated with, that you'd like to delve into, or just things that you'd like to share on your own videos that you don't get a chance to say?
For me, when I first started YouTube, I was really saying a lot of things, talking about, because I'm a psychologist, so I also deal with mental health and people, dealing with a lot of things. But YouTube kind of demonetizes videos when you're talking about, people who are um, ending their life or whatever, who are going through hard times and things like that. So I realized even during the pandemic, I was saying a lot of it, speaking my heart and mind, and one of my videos got removed. I said, gosh, I wish I could just speak to humanity the way I want. But I realized that actually, there's this machine which doesn't want you to talk about certain things. And you have to find a way around it, because during those days of the pandemic, one of my videos got removed. I got 2 strikes on my channel. And I'm like, okay, they stopped me making video for like 2 weeks. So I'm like, I got contacted by Rumble, which I have a Rumble as well. But, I said, okay, I love YouTube, and YouTube is a great platform, but you have to be smart how you communicate there, because it, there are consequences for what you say.
Do you have a new platform that you like?
I definitely like Rumble, but I'm not, Rumble contacted me. They're like, okay, we can help you get started. And I did. But once you've been on YouTube for so long, it's hard to
Well,
kind
yeah,
of
you have
just
2 million
switch.
subscribers and you get how it all works, and
Yes,
you're
yeah,
well
yeah.
established, you've spent over a decade on YouTube, so
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I've got my own website, ralphsmart.com. But for me, I always say that energy can never die. And I do feel that YouTube can get revived.
AG1 is a foundational nutritional supplement that delivers daily nutrition through gut health support and is backed by multiple research studies, so you can trust what you're putting in your body. I trust AG1 because, unlike so many products, their entire formula is backed by research studies, not just the ingredients. Over 14 years, AG1 has been focused on innovation with a trusted, nutrient dense blend that's the perfect complement to my diet. I can trust their research and how they're validating the product working in the body. AG1 has been third-party tested for safety for years and is trusted by experts and medical professionals, giving you one less thing to research. They're posting results online from their studies, and it's interesting to see how many of the study participants had the same feelings of energy, focus, supported digestion, all from using AG1. For example, at 30 days, 80% of the people in the research study noticed less gas and bloating. 97% of the people in a research study felt more energy. If there's one product I trust to support my whole body health, it's AG1. And that's why I've partnered with them for so long. It's easy and satisfying to start your journey with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/prettyintense. That's drinkag1.com/prettyintense. Check it out.
For me, I always know that there's always a space and a need for long form content. That's why you have people like yourself, people like Joe Rogan. So I feel that YouTube is still alive. It's just it's going to force us all to become more creative.
What's sparking joy in you these days?
I planted the seed so long ago. Now I'm really enjoying the fruits of my labor.
The mango from the tree?
The mango from the tree, I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying life right now because once again, I'm just happy to still be here. For me, it was all about longevity, to realize that you want to be here in the next 10 years. You want to be here in the next 20 years. The game will change. And I'm happy I caught it at the golden age, because everything happens in a cycle. The cycle will come again where creators will be at the forefront even more. I feel we're in a cycle period right now where, creators are it's hard to be a creator right now because, you have news corporations who also want a piece of that. Now everyone is trying to speak and so it's tough. There's a lot of competition, but I feel if you are unique enough, you can always stand out.
What makes you feel the most creative? When are the juices flowing the most, where things come through and time passes and in a fashion that is not linear to normal time? Like, what gets you in that zone?
Definitely. It's always being in the heart of nature, always in the heart of nature. And for me, that's really a great place to create. And, I started making videos in my backyard, and that's where it all happened. That's where the magic happened. So anytime I'm in the heart of nature, the downloads just come, and it's just amazing to create. It just takes the edge off. And it's a beautiful place.
How does your information come to you? Do you feel like it's angels speaking to you, God? Do you feel like it's channeled from the field of the Akashic records or the whole field of information? Like, explain that process that you go through.
Definitely. I'm a Pisces, so I'm a 33, born on March 3rd. So
just happy birthday.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I always know that Pisces is the intuitive star sign. It deals with clairvoyance, and Pisces are aware of the other realm. So I've always known that there's something more to what we see with our 5 senses. I've always been in tune, and I've always realized that I'm here to help people. So I've always been drawn to helping people, and I've realized that, we're enough how we are. That's another secret I know, that actually people are enough. What they offer to the world is enough, and people will accept it and receive it. So I just realized that all I had to do is just tap within, go within and tap within myself, and all the answers just come without me even trying. A lot of the times people always say, okay, do you have a script when you make videos? I say, absolutely not. It's actually more fun for me when I don't know what I'm going to say. I have bullet points, I have bullet points like if I make a video, but I never plan it. I don't. All of that is for me. It takes the fun out of it. So
Do you feel like it's channeled then? Is that
definitely,
the state
definitely,
that you feel like you're in?
definitely, it's always channeled, and it's always, just in the flow state,
Yeah.
and that's where it comes naturally, and where great things happen.
Stress is a common factor that affects everyone in today's fast paced world, leading to various issues. What if the answer to better stress response is in a key ingredient? I'm talking about magnesium. Actually, I'm specifically talking about magnesium breakthrough from Bioptimizers. This one of a kind product is designed to reverse low levels of magnesium, which could be leading to a multitude of health problems. What sets magnesium breakthrough apart is its ability to support healthy levels of stress hormones like cortisol, a better balanced stress response in your nervous and hormonal systems, and a healthy production of GABA, the relaxing neurotransmitter, leading to a more peaceful and better flow state. That's why I recommend Magnesium Breakthrough from Bioptimizers. It's the only organic full spectrum magnesium supplement that includes 7 unique forms of magnesium for stress resilience and better sleep, all in one bottle. Simply go to bioptimizers.com/prettyintense using promo code prettyintense. There are always amazing gifts with purchase. Go now to bioptimizers.com/prettyintense to get your magnesium breakthrough and find out this month's gift with purchase. Yeah, my sister is a Pisces, and
Okay,
I call her Oracle.
wonderful, wonderful. Well, she
Yeah.
is the oracle, definitely.
Can you guess what I am after 15 minutes of knowing me?
You seem like, I would say, fire sign,
Mm-hmm.
a Leo, perhaps.
It's a good guess. I'm a double Aries. Well, let's talk about like where we're at as a planet, humans, and sort of this great awakening that we're in. And like, where are we in that process?
Definitely. Well, for me, I feel that a lot of humanity has been forced to wake up over the last few years. And we're in a stage right now where the writing is on the wall.
Mm.
A lot of people are having to make a choice. I always say we are in the massive split that's happened. It's already happened between 3D and 5D, uh, between those who have had the shots and those who haven't, between those that are awake and aware to the matrix and those who are still fast asleep. The split has already occurred. And we're in a state right now where people have already made up their minds. We're in a time right now where um, people have made the choices. They've made their bed. They have to lie in it.
Mm.
And we're not in a time to kind of convince people to believe anything. Their soul has already made the choice. And right now, we're in a time where people have to connect with as many like minds as possible, because there is a great divide that's happening. It's already happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a polarization of humanity where a lot of people have become dulled, even more so. And a lot of people are more awake more than ever. It's been a confirmation. In fact, the last few years, people who are already awake, this was the greatest confirmation. They're so happy because everything they spoke about was confirmed.
That's right. I mean, it has to be uncomfortable for those who in the last couple of years have been put in this position to like face themselves or face that they've been lied to, or that things aren't as it seems. This has to be a little shocking for those people.
Absolutely, it is. It's a rude awakening. A lot of people are now facing themselves. They have to face themselves. They have to face that that what they once thought was true is not. A lot of people have been running away. Human beings have done so much to kind of run away. And some people are still trying to not face reality, but it's catching up with people, because just sitting in your house, that a lot of people had to sit in their house years ago, it kind of made people reflect. A lot of people realize actually things aren't so stable. Even in my job, I might get laid off. So a lot of people, as I see it, are going through the major breakdown. Humanity is actually crumbling for a reason, for something else to be born. It's a beautiful time if you've made the right choice, if you're moving towards the new earth, freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people who are still unsure, it's going to be very tough because they're going to be offered the metaverse. They're going to be offered to say, hey, are you depressed? Don't worry about it. Put on this Apple headset and you're going to be fine. Yeah, you're going to be fine. So a lot of people are going to be tempted into another reality, which is going to take them even further away from themselves. Because a
Mm.
lot of people, they want an escape right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, the metaverse, Zuckerberg is going to say, hey, just come into this metaverse. So it's a very strange time right now on the planet because you see, once people go into that metaverse, there's no coming out
Why?
because, well, because it's basically going deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole of illusion, where more and more people will become so accustomed to that. Just before we started the show, Meta went down, Instagram went down, and a lot of people are panicking. It's because people have become so accustomed just to these apps. It's going to be no different from people going full on into a virtual reality where if you take that away from them, they won't even know how to exist. So the only place they'll feel alive is actually in an artificial world.
I was just experiencing a little bit of that. There was some story that didn't upload, and then service seemed weird. And then I saw something someone posted about, look at all these platforms that are not working right now on this like Super Tuesday. I don't know if it's a political day, if something's happening, but they basically were alluding to this is probably a trial run for some bigger days coming up where they like shut things down.
Absolutely. Leave the World Behind was showing us that in that film of cyber attacks, of them shutting everything down in the grid, and it's done by design, it's done by purpose. So whenever you take something away from someone, now they become dependent on you. And really it's a wake-up call for humanity to say, okay, we can't be dependent on Facebook or Instagram. We have to be dependent on ourselves and create our own platforms because they can pull the plug at any time. The question is, will you be able to survive it? You know, a lot of people have withdrawal symptoms just from their mobile phone, and the Apple phone is a gift and a curse because the Apple is the forbidden fruit, but actually it's opening Pandora's box. And a lot of people don't realize that there are so many people who don't even turn their phone off. It's always on. The Apple is actually moving you further and further into the illusion and away from who you really are. So, you know, it's a lot of work that humanity has to do because people don't realize that more addictions are being created.
And they do it slow, right? Like I feel like it's like a little bit of this and then a little bit more and then a little bit more, and it really gets you hooked.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you see, when it first came, like Apple and all of this, Steve Jobs, you know, people were so happy to say, okay, this great technology, and it seemed great. You know, technology is just a tool. It's fantastic. But a lot of the people, they don't realize that the internet itself is a trap.
Mhm.
And the internet was created by the military, but it was also given to the public for a reason because it's the perfect way to trace everyone and track everyone and also create a social credit score, which they're later on going to introduce to the whole world. Where, if you, for example, if you're not on the internet, you feel you don't have a life. If people don't have a phone, they feel they don't have a life. So they'll bring you in and then they can lock you out. Say, okay, you can't go on the internet for a certain amount of time, or we can shut down Meta or Instagram. And people feel they don't have a life, you know? So a lot of people, they're unaware that actually a lot of this technology has been given to us to control us. And we have to once again reclaim our power and
Yeah.
make sure we're, you know, make sure the internet is a free and open place. You know, that's the biggest thing because with YouTube, for example, once again, the creators, when they first created it, it was a free and open platform. It was amazing. That's what made it what it is today. But as time went on, other bodies wanted to get involved to say, okay, you can say this, you can't say that. And if you speak against us, you're eradicated, like the Squid Games. We have to be careful that we're not handing all of our rights to people and platforms on the internet who don't have our best interests at hand.
One thing I was just thinking about was frequency. That's probably the thing I'm most sensitive to. Like, I have EMF reducers in my house. I took Wi-Fi out of the bedroom. I don't like to be deep in a city. I like to be just outside enough to like have the resources, but not be in it. I was thinking about how long ago I signed up for this service called FLFE, Focused Life Force Energy, where they send a different frequency to your phone. That's another thing. Like, who knows what they could do with that? Did you ever watch Westworld?
Some clips of it, yeah.
Well, at the very end, it ends up basically boiling down to frequency and how they just control you with frequency, and how there's an actual tower in the city that's sending one that actually no one can see until you're not in that frequency. And then all of a sudden you can see it. You know, in the show, they like people were dancing and then they were fighting and then they could just change everyone's mood. And, that's our phone. But now with Neuralink, I mean, that's a very scary situation. Someone just got implanted with Neuralink, and I'm like, what would you have to do to say, yes, I'll be the first? Yeah, open me up.
Right, right. It's crazy what Elon Musk has been doing. And Neuralink for me is really the first step where they want it to go, where it's really merging man with machine, and also making sure that it's going to be very hard to distinguish between human beings and machine. Just like with transgenderism, it's AI is going to be that. It's going to be very hard to differentiate between who is real and who is not. And for me, it's really what they've been talking about in ancient texts and scriptures of the mark of the beast and all of these things, and how basically humanity is really playing with fire, because Elon Musk might tell you it's for progress, which is fantastic. At the same time, there are millions of homeless people on the planet. There are so many things happening in the world, yet people, they want to create inventions which aren't even helping the overall problem of the planet right now. And it's really, in my mind, just about becoming greater than a human being. That might seem fantastic because, yes, there can be health benefits and all of that. But essentially, what people don't realize is that soon it's going to replace you, where what's going to happen is you're going to have humans who also have part chips inside of them. And then they're going to become bionic. They're going to become humanoids like Sophia. You're going to have half human, half machine. You're going to have totally different human beings. And eventually, what once made someone human is going to be gone. You're going to have designer babies. You're going to have people paying for the most intelligent child on the planet. And the wealthy are going to, they're going to have all the technology. People think this technology is for the masses. It's the money. Who can have the most, who can pay the most will get the most. So a lot of people don't realize the Neuralink and all of that is only going to benefit those billionaires and those people who are really have all the wealth on the planet and their children.
You said greater than a human, and I immediately thought, is there something greater? Because in my opinion, and I want to hear your thoughts, when you become a machine, you take away the connection to the infinite, which to me is consciousness. And I don't think that can reside in an artificial being. I think it needs to be a biological human born to have that divine connection through consciousness. What do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the way I truly feel it has to be. But we have to also realize that there are many people amongst us who are not human.
Tell me more.
Definitely. I call them the inorganic ones, because you see, as human beings, we have to remind ourselves we're only seeing less than 0.035% on the electromagnetic spectrum, which is visible light. And all the stories of creation stories, they talk about other beings coming down who actually created human beings. And we have to remind ourselves, even in the Bible, it says he made us in his image. Who is he that made us in his image? We have to remind ourselves that human beings love to experiment and play God. But we forget that, what if we were also created? And it's not hard to believe, because every other species on this planet is very different from human beings. In other words, they're just in the here and now state. They're in the flow state. Human beings are analyzers, which means that we have a power over other animals because we're scheming, we're analyzing, we have a different intelligence. At the same time, um, where did this intelligence come from?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at human history, you realize even the Great Pyramids of Giza, they can't build them today. Who built them? That's number one. Where did they come from? But when you dive deeper, you realize that even in ancient Egypt, the pharaohs, they were selected by the priesthood. And legend has it that they were visited by extraterrestrials who actually, gave the priesthood some knowledge about how to create civilizations. And the priesthood would always rule over the lands, and they would choose the king or the queen.
And the pharaohs?
And the priesthood would choose the pharaohs. That's why if they didn't do what the priesthood wanted, they would assassinate them. It's the same thing that happens today. Who you think is in power is not really in power. They're just the puppets, but there are people on this planet who know that we're not alone. We've never been. And there are other entities who actually have always been here and who have actually helped create human beings, what we see today. And in my own research, you realize that some people are NPCs, non-playable characters. Some people are just here, in this simulation, just created characters who don't do anything. And they're actually created just to create confusion. But they have no soul inside of them.
I resonate with that NPC very much. I've talked about that for about the last year. It just seems it's just people that can be content with never progressing and never growing and having the same day every day their entire lives and kind of having not a lot of meaning and not a lot of purpose. Like it's baffling to me.
I liken it to a mobile phone. Some people came here with an unlocked capacity. They can take any SIM card, and some people are only locked into one SIM card, and they've been created that way. And yes, they have a choice, but it's very hard to break that programming. And when you remind yourself that there are levels to this, there are levels and levels, and yes, we are all human, but there's different degrees of us. There's different, there's a whole spectrum of human beings in terms of who we really are. And some people have the gift of being able to see through the illusion, and some people remain fast asleep. So we have to realize that it's not as easy as just waking up or stopping your boring life. It's just that some people have a tremendous programming, which is very difficult to break because it's based on, not just now, but so many other years of programming.
So do you think that these NPCs or people that just generally don't seem evolved, are not able to see through the lies and the programming that is trying to be pushed on us? Are they just less evolved human beings that are in more of a starter program, or are they actually just not really here? Like they are filler, they are placeholders, they are merely part of our simulation that populates it to make it Earth with bunch of humans on it, but they're not really ever going anywhere.
Right, definitely. I mean, for me, I always say I don't want to dehumanize anyone, but when I take a look around at the world, I realize that there's a large percentage of people who don't think for themselves and are uninterested in awakening or anything like that. Yeah. And I realize that these people, they've been created by someone else. What's happened is, just like I was telling you how human beings experiment, through stories, you realize that many human beings, once again, were created by ETs, and some were in a less evolved state, some were in a higher evolved state, depending on how they were programmed. That's the reason why you have some people who are super aware and some people who aren't aware based on their programming that was installed in them, just like a computer. So I do believe that every human being was created by ET, some other ET, or the simulation creator. And just like a video game, every character is different. Some characters have supernatural abilities and some don't, based on their programming. I do also believe that humanity can break all programs. And, we have that power, but we also have to realize that we're not alone. Everywhere you look, there's life. Even in the jungle, other animals eat other animals. Human beings say we have no predators, but is that true? In fact, many human beings actually prey for other entities, and their fear is the food that they need to survive. So, there's soul harvesting happening on the planet every single day. When you remind yourself that a lot of the news is bad news for a reason, the frequency has to be at a certain level for other entities to eat and to feel happy and to feel joy. Humanity has to be at an all-time low. In 2019, the frequency was rising so high on the planet because people were just, wanting to be free and getting ready for the new decade, 2020, right? Which is clear vision. And just as it was happening, then you had the outbreak. Had to shut it all back down. Just as people were ready to reach the top of the mountain collectively, it was happening because the awakening was going crazy, where so many people were waking up. And then they realized that, okay, we got to knock it back down.
Shamans were the first ones to tell me this when I went down to Peru to do ayahuasca. They were sort of describing the scenario of like how when your frequency is lower and you're in that more fear and negative space, that you can essentially have your energy siphoned off. And then it kind of spirals downward, where if you can stay sort of above that, then you're not appetizing. You're not accessible, essentially. Like your energy is, you can't be penetrated and siphoned. So it's very important to keep your positivity up, your energy high, your frequency high. That way you continue to spiral up instead of getting to that below threshold negative space where it goes down from there because your energy's been siphoned and you continue to spiral.
All emotions have a frequency. Fear is 100 hertz. Love is 500 hertz. Peace is 600 hertz. Enlightenment is 700 hertz plus. So the four lower emotions is what they keep you on in the system, in the matrix, in the machine world, which is fear, grief, apathy, guilt. So they make you feel guilty. Parents make you feel guilty. Shame as well is one of them. Grief is another one. And fear. So, and apathy as well. So those lower emotions is what really keeps humanity stuck. And you have to break free of that, which is tough because a lot of our parents have been programmed for a reason, to program us. So it's an endless cycle, But the good news is that there are so many people like yourself and myself and other people all around the world who are starting to wake up and who are starting to get it, who have a influence on other people. And this is the great time we're in. It's an opportunity for human beings to realize that there's so much more to the story than we've been told.
Describe to your understanding what that looks like for someone that has chosen a more evolved 5D sort of perspective on the world versus someone that doesn't choose that. What's their trajectory?
5D is about the love frequency. It's about being off the grid, less technology, more real connection with the natural world, with Gaia, with nature. It's really about community as well. A lot of people forget that birds fly together for a reason. Everywhere you go in nature, you're always going to find a pact. You're always going to find a lot of birds flying together because no one is alone in nature. Everything is in a symbiotic relationship with everything else. What's happened with humanity in the 3D is that people have become individuals and they don't talk to anybody. They don't talk to their neighbor and they become weakened. So the 5D is where people are actually uniting more than ever. They're realizing that together we're stronger, and it's a coming together, removing labels, race, religion, nationality. These are all programs which were designed in the 3D to make sure you never reach the 5D. In the 5D, there's no race, no religion, no politics. You're literally a sovereign being, which means that you own your own inner kingdom and you don't have any leaders. There's no Trump, there's no Biden. You're leading yourself. You go to the ballot box, you vote for yourself. And it's a place of peace. It's a place of harmony. It's also a place where negativity doesn't have to go viral. Bad news is it's not on the front pages in the 5D.
Does it even resonate at that frequency? I imagine it to be like where you don't even have those feelings. Like the reason why you're your own king kingdom is because you don't go there. Because I've even noticed in my own progress is that I can't even hold the energy of the negative. Like sometimes I'll think it, or I'll maybe start to write it or text it or something. I'm like, that's just awful. Like, and you can't even
Right.
you can't even feed into it any longer than a moment.
You basically tower over it. It becomes so small in your reality that it ceases to exist.
Yeah.
In the 3D, it becomes so big. Negativity is the main focus of people's lives.
Yeah.
They go through life in a mad rage, and it's a lot of heavy energy. The 5D is a very light energy. It's a freeing energy. It's an energy of peace and love, and also introspection. It's integration with the shadow. Yes, the negative is there in the 5D, but you realize the negative is not going to hurt you because you're going to integrate it with yourself. In other words, do the shadow work. You realize that you're choosing the higher frequencies. You've taken the trip. For example, a lot of people in 3D are suffering with a tremendous shadow that's been plaguing them. Their thoughts, what they're doing, all kinds of craziness. In the 5D, you're basically making peace with your shadow. You're loving the disowned aspects of yourself. You're not pushing them away. A lot of people in the 3D, they want to get away from who they are. In the 5D, you incorporate all of that into you, and you realize that it was never a problem. It was never a problem. These were just disowned aspects of yourself, so it's a whole shadow integration in the 5D. It's not that people are going to be perfect angels in the 5D. People are still going to be, people are going to be themselves, but there's a whole mastery of your emotions in the 5D. You're not turning on yourself in the 5D. You're mentally kinder to yourself in the 5D. You're not inflicting pain on yourself. You're loving yourself, accepting yourself. So you're a master of your internal. In the 3D, your emotions can destroy you. People do all kinds of things to themselves in a bad way because they let their emotions get the best of them. In the 5D, you're able to watch everything and put everything in its place. So you're the supreme one in charge.
Mm. Do you have to transmute it in 3D before you can kind of make that transition? Or is that more just I envision it to be that you have to raise your frequency, you have to face these things, but it's almost like the choice of finally saying you will is your sort of transmutation into the next phase. Is that how you see it?
Definitely, the 3D is a great learning simulation where we're going to go through all kind of horrendous experiences. But they're not really designed to take us out. They're here to wake us up so we can ascend.
Mhm.
And definitely, the 3D is giving us the lessons that we have to transform the energy. We have to become the alchemist. We have to realize that there are so many challenges. It's how you respond that ultimately matters. And it's also us realizing that the 3D is very physical. And this is the reason why a lot of people get stuck, because they get stuck because of the physical.
Mm.
My car, my house, this, that, all of these possessions, which actually end up possessing us. So the 5D, you're no longer controlled by possessions because you realize that actually, you got the ocean, you got the forests, which are, and you have your own energy, which are the greatest pieces of real estate ever. The whole world is yours, it's all yours, so abundance is there. That's the difference. The 3D, you're kind of struggling. Okay, I need to make money. The 5D is already here.
Yeah.
Everything you could have ever wanted, everything you've ever imagined is already at your fingertips. So there's tremendous abundance. You're not caught up in the survival rat race, competing with other people. And, you're in your own element, and you're just expressing yourself freely.
We talked about a little bit about ancient civilizations, extraterrestrial. First off, do you have any stories? Have you had any encounters or like experiences that were life changing or they proved existence to you? Anything crazy happen?
As a psychologist and criminologist, when I graduated back in 2006, I had a breakdown. I was actually hospitalized. I had awful pain on the top of my head. I was actually hospitalized, and family were worried. Oh my gosh, what's happening? But once I went inside, I was greeted by some some wardens, people who were there, nurses who were looking after the place and who were, looking after me. And, one day I was almost like shocked. Okay, where am I going? So they when I got there, I was greeted by one Filipino man, and I was like, okay, I was still kind of just in a very like, what the hell is going on state, but he kind of waved his finger, like that in my face, and I realized, okay, it wasn't just a finger; it was like serpent, snake, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, and when it happened, I'm like, okay, nobody's gonna believe this, but I realized, okay, that's also when the awakening happened for me to realize that um, there are so many hidden realities in this world that people don't know anything about. And it made me realize that, okay, not everyone is human. Not everyone is human. And when I was going through the breakdown, I realized that was actually my initiation. I came out 28 days later, and I realized, okay, now I know what I'm here to do. It was almost like I was taken away somewhere and going through these rites of passage to really become infinite waters and spread the message. So my life was never the same again. And it's like, okay, I realized that certain things happen to people at certain times because they're here to do certain things. And I realized, okay, it's almost like I wasn't afraid. Once I saw it, I said, okay, I now know that we're not the only ones. And it gave me a peace of mind to realize this,
Yeah.
that now nothing
Great.
surprises me.
Yeah. You got an upgrade.
I got an
You're
upgrade.
got an upgrade, and
Yes.
I'm grateful. I feel like I've had a couple of those as well, and that feels good to step into a new place. What about psychedelics? Is that something, I know in your book you've got a chapter on
Right,
psychedelics.
right,
Is
right.
that something you've done? Have you done ayahuasca or
I
psilocybin?
haven't done ayahuasca, but I breathe in the good ass prana. For me, it's a case where I'm somebody who, um, realizes the power of ayahuasca, psilocybin, all of these things. But I also realize that some people can already be there. I feel I'm already there,
Mhm.
and it's
You live
like,
there? Oh God, that's not fair.
you know,
I mean,
I
also scary at times, but
right, right. I'm already there because I've been in the heart of nature for so long. I've really done silent retreats. I've really done, immerse myself in nature in all over the world, from Hawaii to different places in nature. And I've really been in the forest, so I've really tapped in to realize, okay, my third eye is expanding and I really get it. And I realized that ayahuasca, all of these psychedelics were just tools to bring you back to who you already are anyway.
yeah.
We have the ability to create all of these things because our brain is a pharmaceutical company. It can produce anything, even DMT, which is a spirit molecule. So people don't realize that your brain can actually produce everything that you're experiencing from a plant. You can do it yourself. I've realized that I'm already high enough. I don't need to, you know, where, so I've always realized that I'm already on cloud nine, in terms of, I sometimes have to come back down to reality because I'm already out there,
Well, and
as
you're
a,
Pisces.
I'm a Pisces as well, so
So I get it, because my Mercury is in Pisces, which is the way my mind thinks. And so like
yes,
I can just like walk and hike or sit out and look at trees, and I can just like stare off and just be like in a whole nother dimension, thinking about all kinds of other things, storytelling, dreaming. Dreaming is probably my favorite aspect about the whole Pisces brain.
definitely, definitely. I'm a dreamer, I'm definitely, realizing that sometimes, it's all a dream, and it's beautiful.
Mm.
And I feel that so many people, they take things so seriously, and the wake up call that's come for humanity is that the whole world is a stage. None of this is supposed to be taken seriously. And I think enough people are getting it, that actually the whole entire fabric of society has been made up, even from politics and all of this. It's all a big joke. And you want to make sure you're not taking it so seriously and then just enjoy yourself.
So we were talking about sort of extraterrestrial cycles, and we're at the end of a 26,000 year cycle, and there's been plenty around the idea that we have been altered genetically, by extraterrestrials along the way, that there's no explanation for our leaps in consciousness and what we're capable of doing, as well as splicing within our DNA. So do you think that there's another one coming? Do you think that these energetic upgrades that we can experience at some points in time are a form of that, or are that? Or do you think that we're going to get something more dramatic that comes to take us to the next level from a true intervention standpoint?
Definitely, there's always divine intervention. Many astrologists and people in that field will talk about us leaving the age of Pisces and entering the age of Aquarius. Some people have said it's going to be 2050. Some people have said 2025. But all of this aligns to the time we're in right now. In fact, the Hopi spoke of the fifth world, where humanity will awaken once again.
Mm.
And right now we're going through a destruction of everything. And it's evident, society is crumbling, and I feel that a new age is coming on the planet. But at the same time, it is an age where a lot of the so-called elites they know about it, and they're getting ready. In other words, they're really wanting to take as many people with them as possible.
What's going on with the royal family right now?
Right. Exactly. Well, that's the thing, because it's a sign that civilization is breaking down. As great as Egypt was, their civilization had to come to an end, because basically it's a cycle. And we're seeing that civilization, royal families there's in-house fighting. There's, that they're losing the power. The ring of power is being lost. And it's nothing anybody can do about it, but it's their time is up,
Mm.
and they know this. They know that they can't be in power forever. And you're seeing this. You're seeing that they don't look as strong as they once were. You see that even world leaders aren't having the same power as they once had. People are now losing hope in them, losing faith in them. And this is all a sign that something else is coming on the horizon that's really going to benefit humanity for the better.
So do you think that those in power, the elites or the royals or whoever, are they not human? Or is the entities controlling them losing the power through them?
Definitely. I always say that they are human, 100% human. They're no more different than anybody that you see walking down the
They're
road.
not a reptilian? Come on, man. We've seen plenty of videos on some of them being reptilian.
We've seen plenty of videos. I actually went to see David Icke, who
Oh, cool.
really introduced that. I saw him in Wembley many, many years ago.
Yeah.
I definitely feel that absolutely not. They're definitely human. And the reason is because, once again, the people who are really behind the scenes, they don't even have a physical form. They use these people. You saw the Queen pass away and everyone was shocked that, oh my gosh, she can pass away. People can pass away. They're just human,
Rockefeller,
Right.
whichever Rockefeller it was, just died. And I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, I thought they got to live forever. I thought they lived off adrenochrome and reptilian intervention. And I don't know, like
Right.
they're not supposed to die, I thought.
What's happened is they've been chosen. They've been chosen by higher ups. And the higher ups, I'm talking about the people that are not even human. They've been chosen, and certain families have been put in position to rule over other human beings to carry out their agenda. And the deal is that these families can always have the wealth and the power. So, they have children, then the next one is the heir to the throne and all of that. So the Rockefellers, the royal family, and there's royal families all around the world, they've been chosen, but they themselves are just regular human beings. And a lot of them may not even know about the deep stuff, because, once again, they're there to, go and talk in this country or that country. A lot of them, they don't even know what the hell is going on either. So they're also victims, a lot of these people, because they were just born into a family, and they have to act a certain way and, avoid the media. So a lot of these people themselves are not even deep divers. So I always say there's nothing to be afraid of or even worried about them. Most of them don't even know what they're doing.
So we shouldn't be mad at them then?
Well, absolutely, because, once again, people have given power over to them, just like people have given their power over to world leaders. We've externalized the power. But already in the UK, for example, a lot of people, they sometimes say abolish the monarchy. People are not really that patriotic as well. It's the same as in the US. A lot of people wonder if Biden is really real, or maybe he's just putting on an act, or something is happening. But people are realizing that actually these people, they're not what they're cracked up to be, and we've allowed them the power and given them all the power. But the truth is, the power is inside of us. It's always been, it always will be.
Oh, it's like the Wizard of Oz. Do you think that
Yes.
this year in the election, do you think it's important? Do you think it doesn't matter? Like, what is the level of concern for the outcome that you have?
Definitely. So Trump just, the court just said, okay, he can run.
Right.
And this is a big thing. Trump has got so much support, and Biden doesn't seem like he's even able to continue, even if he won. He doesn't seem he's even physically there, mentally there. So
Personally, I absolutely love looking at those videos and laughing at them and seeing how absolutely ridiculous it is. I feel bad for a human being that isn't able to function anymore, but the fact that we are accepting and people think it's like he seems to be somewhat okay still, I just like laugh at the delusion. It's just comical that is acceptable to anyone.
well, that's the thing. For me, I do feel that there's going to be a lot of tensions this year with just the whole elections, and like you said, this temporary shutdown of social media is probably just a test run.
Yeah.
Already, that there are so many people who are, it creates division. Politics creates division. Democrat, Republican, and there are so many dirty tricks that happen, and we have to realize that there are going to be big cases of civil unrest in America, especially this year, because whoever wins, if Trump wins, there's going to be a whole lot of problems. If Biden is reelected, there's going to be a whole lot of problems. So either way, it's going to be a civil war. In fact, that's the film that's coming out to show you predictive programming that, get ready, that storms are brewing. And people have to really protect their energy, and people have to really realize that you have to stop looking for leaders to guide you, because we've created this. Humanity has created the leaders, is put in place. We've given them our power, because humanity cannot lead itself.
I have a theory on the cycle of humans, and that because I think to myself, what do you do about this situation? Let's say you run away, you go to the woods, you start over, you start your little commune or community, and it's glorious. And then it grows a little bigger, and then people want to come, and you're like, great, we want people who want to be here. And all of a sudden it grows into a little town, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, God, there's now we need resources, and we kind of need someone in charge just to like delegate like out how it all works. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, I can't do that alone. And then there's more people in charge. And then all of a sudden you have some general framework of like what we have going on, which is someone in charge, and then all these other people that is like a hierarchy. And that the thing is cyclical. Like we can't get away from this loop, because inherent in our being is this need to be important, or need to have money, or need to be powerful, and essentially like the ego. And that then I go to the only way out of this is that we are not the way we are anymore. Like we have to become someone different. Otherwise the cycle continues. That's how it looks to me.
Absolutely. That's phenomenal. Absolutely. We have to definitely become someone different, and we have to do things differently. We have to remind ourselves that the educational system, for example, is really the first step of conditioning the human mind and programming us. And that's really what screwed us up, because it only takes 7 years to reprogram to program a child. The first 7 years of a child's life actually shapes who they become. A lot of the first 7 years of people's life is full of trauma, competition, stress. So a lot of us, we've been literally traumatized, just escaping our childhood and healing those problems.
Sure. Parents thinking to themselves, oh, they can yell and scream, and they're like, oh, he or she is 3 years old, they're never going to remember, or whatever it is. Or even in the womb, they say that you can still be programmed subconsciously in the last trimester. So, I think that's also just not having the knowledge that those years are like, those are the programming years. They're more important than when they're 15 and you tell them to not go out. They won't go out and do dumb things if you program them correctly from 0 to 7.
Definitely. We need a whole entire educational system. I
Yeah.
used to work in a school and I realized that it's sad to see the curriculum that, school isn't designed to teach you about yourself. It's designed to teach you what they want you to learn about. And a lot of people don't realize that the school is the hand of the government. It all works hand in hand. And it's all designed to keep you a sheep and asleep and a slave ultimately to the system. Because if you start to get smarter, then you no longer need it. So it needs to keep you dependent on it. And it needs to feed you information that you don't really need later on in life. And this is what can really change everything if people have a whole different educational system. A lot of the wealthy people in this world, people like Elon Musk, they don't even send their children to school. They actually homeschool their children. There's a place in Switzerland where all the wealthy people send their children to. I forgot the name of it, but they have a whole different education. And these people become the world leaders and things like that. And, Elizabeth Taylor sent her child to there. All of these people send their child to that school in Switzerland. And it's a very exclusive school, but they're not having the same education as most people. So it's like, we have to realize that it starts from the beginning, the school system. And a lot of people don't realize it's actually doing more harm than good, because I always say that the truth is a lot of people are behind. By 18, people should have already had a whole family and everything. In other words, that people don't realize that we're being delayed. People would be so intelligent by 25, truly know who they are.
Design Ralph Smart's world. Like, what in your experience, in your hopes and dreams, and how you see humanity operating at a higher or a better place, what does it look like? Like, take me to that town.
Definitely.
That world.
It involves people. For example, if you've got a child, you don't just give them the same exam as everyone else. You cater to their own talents and needs. So that's number one. You realize everyone is different. Everyone is here for a different reason. So you work on people's or innate abilities they have. And, there is no examinations, in terms of compete with this person. It's more about finding out who you really are. And a lot of children already know who they are. We just have to allow them to grow into who they are. So it's more about a whole world where people are growing into who they are. I've always known that there was something wrong with the world. And, I was told, okay, you have to just do it this way. That's the only way. But, a better world is about realizing there's not just one way, there are infinite ways. It's about space. It's about realizing you have to be in a better environment. That's number one. A lot of the concrete cities were designed in a way to actually lower people's frequencies. Once you remind yourself that you're a plant, human beings are plants, and we have to be placed in an environment that can really nurture us. And that's the first thing, where you want to make sure you're around as much nature as possible. Also, you want to be able to hear from different people's perspectives. I've been talking to so many different kinds of people. It's really kept me with an open mind. I talk to people who say, okay, I don't believe in any higher power, all kind of things, so this is healthy. This is actually what you want. You want to be challenged with your belief systems. You don't want to think that your way is the only way. You want to realize that actually there's no right way. It's how you see it. And it may not be the way someone else sees it, and that's fine. Don't expect everyone to think like you or see the world the way you do.
We're not robots.
We're not robots. We're definitely not robots, So I feel that it's going to be a world where you have freedom of people's individuality, to express themselves how they truly want. That's the future. where people can really be who they are without judgment. And I feel that so many people, for instance, we forget that half of the world is religious, more than half. You have 1 billion Christians or 2 billion, whatever, 1 billion Muslim. So we forget that so many people are still in a religious dogma. And for me, that's the worst kind of dogma, because the difference between religion and spirituality is that spirituality is for people who are afraid to go to hell. It's not Religion is for people who are afraid to go to hell.
Yeah.
Spirituality is for people who've already been there, right? So when you remind yourself that a lot of people who are very religious, they don't realize they have a massive program. If you are someone who has been able to see that actually, no, we are co-creators, we're gods and goddesses in disguise, that's fantastic. So for me, I always say that in a better world, you would have people who realize that actually we don't need religions. More wars have been created in the name of religion than all wars combined. More people have died in the name of religion than all wars combined. So you realize that's also part of the problem, because once again, a lot of people don't have to think if someone has done the thinking for them.
Read and repeat people.
Read and repeat.
Oh, what's heaven, what's hell? Oh, it's heaven's up, hell's down. Oh,
right. I was born a Christian. I even served in the church until I asked the vicar, how come women can't serve? And he was speechless. So it was a case where I realized that even that's where the feminine principle was expelled. Even in the Bible, it talked about women in a very negative way. And you realize that, okay, everything is just very patriarchal. And then you realize that this is where the world is right now. It's very yang energy.
They had to shut the main oracles down. Women are very intuitive, and women are human portals into the infinite. And because we bring life in, and we have a slightly more direct divine connection. We're the ones that are telling the future. I really believe back in the ancient times in Egypt, we were the ones that went into the psychedelic space, into the altered state, whether it was naturally or not, and we got the information and the intuition about what was happening, what was going on. And, that's a powerful force that, if they've been taking psychedelics away from people because they were thinking for themselves too much, then, women, I think, fall into that category.
Absolutely. That's why they were, burning witches on the stake and all kinds of things, because they realized the power of the woman. And definitely, I feel that, in a better world, there's going to be a balance between the yin and the yang. And that's, what women are now realizing, their power, which is fantastic. But even more work needs to be done, because there is also a force which wants to really destroy the feminine principle on the planet. Hence, you have men replacing women.
Well, we don't want that world. That's not part of Ralph's planet. We're going into balance mode.
We want it in balance. We want it in balance mode.
I like the world that you were describing, and I love the idea of sovereignty and positivity and less resonance with negative energy, because that's a happier, healthier state to be in, where you can continue to ascend.
Yes. I mean, we have to remind ourselves right now that humanity has a real opportunity, because literally it's hidden in plain sight right now. We're seeing that everything that happened over the last few years with the pandemic and all of that was the biggest wake-up call ever. You're seeing how the world works. You're seeing that, okay, even though there's been no research on these things, people are still going to take them. Yet there are always going to be people who are going to resist. And this is how the world has always been. And we have to see that's actually a beautiful thing to see. There's levels to this. Your family may not be awake, and that's okay. It's because they're not ready for it. And we have to realize that not everyone wakes up at the same time, and not everyone has the same level of consciousness.
Love everyone right where they're at, but continue on your journey.
Absolutely. You have to. And the beautiful thing is that, there are so many people now who are getting it, because we have to realize life is a process of metamorphosis, where people are also changing and transforming. and they are coming to know it. And this is what a lot of the people in charge are afraid of, and they've always been afraid of it, and they know it's inevitable.
That's right. Wow. You know, these are not conversations that you could have with most anyone in the past. And so even the scenario of talking to a former race car driver, like, you know, I'm not a likely candidate to be promoting spirituality or psychedelics or, you know, consciousness and expansion. Like, I wouldn't know, I wouldn't be the one that people would think would be doing it, but it's definitely happening. And I look forward to a different place to live in and 5D. Let's go. I hope I make it.
We're already here. We're already here because you see, just like C.S. Lewis said in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, there are different realities. You can go into a wardrobe and enter a whole Narnia. We have to realize that you took ayahuasca, you entered a whole new reality.
Yeah.
And all over the world, people are having totally different experiences and entering different dimensions based on their own energetic frequency. So we have to realize that actually people are already past 5D. Some people are having all kinds of experiences. And it's up to us to be the pioneers of what we want to create and experience.
Well, thank you for giving us some tools.
Thank you so much.
Infinite Waters, diving deep.
Diving deep once again. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And once again, continue your amazing work. Thank you.
You too, Ralph. Thanks everybody for listening to the Pretty Intense podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like what you heard today and you want to hear more, please click on the subscribe button.